Hello guys, this is my overview of uses of SRM in Majora's Mask. Currently we have two very big uses for it in speedruns. We can use it to change the contents of a chest here inside the observatory area, and we can also use it in Deku Palace to change the properties of a Deku guard so that it actually warps us to a different place. And so we can use that to wrong warp the different load zones. Both of those obviously very big route changing type of tricks, and so I'm going to be going over how you do them. But right here in the beginning, I'm mostly going to talk about what SRM is and give like a slight overview of, the science behind it essentially. So if you're not interested in the technical mumbo jumbo, you just want to learn how to do the trick, you can skip this part. So first thing right off the bat I want to say is, if you're really interested about the true science behind this, like literally looking at memory values and what it's physically doing to the game's code, I highly suggest you watch the two videos I linked below. There's a video by Glitches and Stuff, and there's a video by Figo2. They're excellent videos. They explain the shit way better than I could possibly try to do. I'm looking at this as more from a curiosity perspective. I'm gonna try to answer the whys and the whats here, just to give you a sense of, kind of what the game is thinking while this is all going on. I'm gonna give you a simplified explanation. So really quickly, I want to define what an actor is and what a reference is. References are also called pointers, so if you hear me say pointer, it's the same thing. Actors are anything in the game that you can interact with, basically, and even some things that you can't. Anything that's not the scene itself, right? The walls, the stairs, the textures are usually actors. So like all these pots here are actors, that clock is an actor, the scarecrow over here is an actor, right? References, as the name might suggest, reference something else in the game, right? And they usually come about when Link interacts with another actor, or just, actors need to update their values in a specific way. So, right here what's actually happening is there's no physical reality, right? The pot itself is not moving per se, right? What's really happening is the game is creating a reference from the pot to Link's XYZ positions to say, as Link moves, you move around the pot. And that creates the illusion that the pot's being carried. Now, the game will keep that reference alive, right, as long as I'm carrying the pot, obviously. And then once I drop it or throw it away, right, what the game usually does is nullify that reference. So it just sets all the values to 0 to say, okay, we're done messing with this actor here. We don't gotta be updating this reference value anymore, so you can just, forget about it. Now, SRM is predicated on basically two different things. Thing number one is we can actually manipulate where actors spawn in data, and we can achieve this by using this loading plane here. So like normally, right, when you load a game through like a door or any type of fading in and out type of cutscene that you see, actors will load in a very predictable manner, right, in what we call the heap, the actor heap. With loading planes like this, you can see that because to create this illusion that there's a hallway, the game needs to load both rooms at the same time, right? It needs to fit all that into the heap. And the way that it loads and unloads things is predictable in such a way that we can either add actors or remove actors from a room and actually modify where things in the other room are going to be loading. And then by knowing what slots each thing is going to take up, we can then place our target actor, right? In this case, it's our friend, the pot right here, this particular pot. We can place that target actor exactly where we want it to. So I just pulled out all MS Paint here, just to help you guys visualize this a little bit. Imagine that this whole black square here is the actor heap that we're talking about, right? The entire space where the game can load actors into. Because of the loading plane that we're talking about, right, the game is going to have to load two rooms at once. And this creates an interesting scenario where we can modify where room B's stuff is going depending on what room A already has, or vice versa, right? So imagine this is room A right here, right? This is how much it takes up when we initially load it. And it has a bunch of shit in it. It has, Actor 1, Actor 2, Actor 3, whatever, it doesn't really matter, and it all goes up to here. Now, if we want to add an actor, the game's going to have to expand how much room A actually takes up, right? It's going to have to take up to here or something, right? Because the new actor is going to have to chill, like, right here. That means that, room B is going to have to go after it, right? Because there's simply no space over this way. So the room B is going to have to shift all the way over, right? Similarly, in a weird way, if we erase something from the game's memory, right? Say this actor gets erased because we picked up a rupee or a magic pot or whatever, right? The game now has that available, and it can use that for room B, either by pushing everything back or by just allocating, oh, this piece right now is also room B, right? Because it can do that. And so it creates interesting situations where by going in and out of rooms, we can, you know, just place random chunks of shit like here and there, right? From different rooms, and in that way manipulate our target actor. Here I'm going to put it in green. Normally it would spawn somewhere here, right? But in this case it's going to spawn somewhere here. This is all hypothetical, by the way. I really don't know actually how the game handles the actor heap in detail, but I'm just trying to get into your head that removing and adding actors modifies where other actors will load because of the way the game handles this space in memory. The second thing it's predicated on is that once we get our friend the pot here to load exactly where we want it to in memory, we can then unload it while keeping the reference to it, right? The modifying values to it active. We accomplished that with a Superslide, and I just want to explain Superslides here really quickly. Again, this is kind of simplified. Whenever you roll and grab an object in this game with your shield drawn, the game essentially places a priority over the shielding than the grabbing, right? Which makes sense. So it'll wait until I release shield to pick up that pot, right? Super slides are essentially the same thing, except we're also getting recoil speed from a bomb. And so what we're able to do is store that, you know, grab function, if you will, unload the pot by going all the way across, right? And then still grabbing it, right? To keep the reference to it alive, even though the actor itself no longer exists. So I'm gonna demonstrate this really quick. I'm gonna shield drop a bomb in such a way that it doesn't blow up any of the pots here. And then I'm gonna do that same thing that we talked about, right? I'm gonna store the grab function, quote unquote, except now I use the super slide to go all the way across and unload it, right? By going across the loading plane. So essentially what I achieved is, you know, the game thinks I'm holding something, but that something no longer exists. The actor itself no longer exists. The references to it, though, are still being kept active, right? So the game is still trying to tell itself, like, hey, the actor that's supposed to be in this slot, try to, you know, link it to Link's XYZ position or angle or whatever. Now, remember that we took the care to load that pot in a very specific place in memory, right? So now what we can do is go out of that room, then go back in. And essentially, we're going to be putting a different actor in its place. In this case, it's a 100 rupee chest. That's over there somewhere. You can't see it at the moment. But now we're using that stale reference, right? That's where the name of the trick comes from. An outdated reference that's supposed to point to a different actor. We can change the properties of the chest, not the pot. And we can then set Link's angle to be something very specific in such a way that now the contents of the chest rely on Link's collision angle instead of what it's supposed to reference, which is like, you know, just like a value somewhere else in memory that's always fixed. Like it's fixed until you open the chest, right? So now, since it depends on Link's collision angle, we change Link's collision angle as much as we want, and we get different items from the chest using timestop. That's essentially how the whole thing boils down to, and that's why SRM is so powerful. Like, we're not only, you know, we can literally tell the game to when it's trying to do anything with an actor to point to a different instruction way somewhere else in memory instead of what it's supposed to point to. If you're more curious about all this stuff, especially this last part right here, I didn't really explain it fully, highly suggest look at Figo2's video. He explains it really well right at the beginning. Final little interesting tidbit, you'll notice that we get inverted camera when we do this SRM setup, and this is actually really important. There's a little bit of memory that basically tells the game whether this pot can be picked up or not. And normally if you unloaded the pot, that bit of memory would be set to no, right? You cannot pick up the pot. But we're gonna essentially trick the game into keeping that value as a yes. And the way we do that is by keeping the object visually unloaded. If we keep the object visually unloaded when we do the Superslide, like with inverted camera, but you know, you can use other types of camera tricks, the value for that just never gets updated. They would just simply say, if it's not visually rendered on screen, I don't gotta worry about updating its properties. And we abuse that in order to be able to grab the non-existent pot, and that's, you know, a big part of how the magic happens. Alright, so let's talk about Chest SRM first. You want to use this entrance of the observatory right here, because the heap manipulation that we use in the Hundo route uses this entrance. So if you try to go through the Bomber's entrance and try to do the same manipulation, it's not going to work. And the way you're going to do that, this is one of the reasons why it's fast. We can actually clip through this fence here really easily. All you gotta do is target this wall, she'll turn down left, and then you're gonna pull a bomb, you're gonna do a recoil flip, and after you tap the recoil flip, you're gonna switch and hold the upright. And that's all you gotta do. And I'll demonstrate that right now. Like that. And it'll clip you in really easily. So once you do that, the recoil flip doesn't even have to be that good, by the way. You just gotta get recoil speed in the air. So once you do that, you're in. Alright, so once you're in here, I'm just gonna show you the movement that you want to do here to be fast. You're just gonna hold down as you enter. Roll, roll, side hop, back flip. And basically when you do this back flip, what you're aiming at, I'll just show you really quick. After you do the 2 side hops, you basically want to be past this texture of the steps right here, right? You don't want to be on this part of the steps, you want to be on this part of the steps, right? Now that movement is the same for any category but Hundo. In Hundo we actually need to look through the telescope first in order to trigger a scrub that's going to give us a heart piece. So we roll up this guy, look through the telescope, and then there's a specific movement you can do here as well. Once you're done with this, you're going to hold slightly above of right. You're going to mash this text box and just take like 3 steps or something. And that should put you right next to this corner right here. Anywhere in this region right here is fine. You just want to be on the very right hand side of this gap. And then once you do that, you're going to just dry roll and hold A. And if you do that, you'll fall down with this angle. And that's just the fastest way to go about it instead of just jumping off. And then all you gotta do is the same that I talked about, this texture, just make sure you're to the right of it, right? So just like sidestep with down right or whatever and backflip through it. And you don't have to re-enter the room once you do look through the telescope, because it works like, it's the same as coming from Termina, like they both work. So you can use that to reset the heap even if you wanted to. Either that door over there or the telescope, if you use it, you can then reset the room and redo the heap if that's what you need to do. Alright, so from here, again, we're going to be doing very specific things to get the actor that we want to load in the exact place in memory that we want. And so you need to follow these instructions basically to a T, otherwise the trick's not going to work. It's not time dependent or anything, it's just that you can't screw up anything else, if that makes any sense. You don't gotta rush it, you just gotta not f it up, okay? So you're gonna get down here, you're gonna break only this pot, and you're gonna grab the magic that's inside of it. Do that first. You're gonna walk, you're gonna come in, and as soon as you're right around here, right before you load that other room right there, As you're walking through, you're just gonna shield drop a bomb, like that. Now you're gonna get into the other room, and you're gonna hear that bomb unload, right? That's the sound that you want to hear every time. The bomb unloading without exploding. That's really important, right? And so we do that, and once you hear the bomb unload, right, the audio is no longer playing, you know that you're safe to backwalk. And so you load that room, you backwalk, you load this room, right? Here, you're gonna break this pot, and only this pot, and you're gonna grab the rupees that are inside of it. Boom. And then you're gonna roll out. Now, the way I can tell that I did this transition correctly, I look at, there's like this green fog that spawns just as you enter the room, right? Because the balloon and the rest of the walls kind of spawn a little early, but the green fog spawns later. So I look at that green fog, and once I see it, I stop walking forward. And then here, again, you're going to shield drop a bomb and then go through the transition. So shield drop a bomb and backwalk, as such. And once again, you want to hear that audio of the bomb no longer play. Alright, so from here, once you've done this manipulation correctly, what you want to do is get that inverted camera that we need to keep the spot unloaded, right? And so you're going to come and target this wall. And I really prefer, and I suggest everyone gets this inverted camera by tapping right instead of down, because you can either, you could turn around like this and then get an inverted camera down, but I suggest tapping right. And the reason why I suggest that is simply because you can then line up Link's positioning, right? You don't have to face the wall and get the positioning correct and get inverted camera without moving. You can move while you get inverted camera, which is fine, and you don't even have to be that precise, right? So what I want you to look at here is the very tippity top of Link's hat. That's the little triangle. That's basically right above the tip of the shield. I line that up with... I make sure I'm close to the wall to begin with, and I line that up with not this big ass dot right here, this second dot that has like two white lines between it, right? You kind of get what I'm talking about? There's basically three dots on this wall, right? There's one dot that's really close, like this guy right here. There's this dot right here, right? Okay, so really you could say four dots. But anyways, I'm talking about this guy right here, right? This guy that's way too big, we don't count that. And so we make sure we're against the wall. And what I like to do here for fine adjustments, you can actually just hold slightly left of up, and you see that Link does this slow walk, right? Because of the camera that we have. And so this can really help you adjust, right? If you're too far back, you can just tap kind of forward and then adjust from there, right? Depending on how much you angle your stick, he'll go faster or slower. So I think that's a pretty consistent way to always get the position you want. And then pretty much, I'll just kind of give you a verbal cue, pretty much anything from here to like here works. Anything around that area. This is actually the most finicky part of this trick, believe it or not. And the reason for that is if you place your bomb slightly too far forward, like right there, it'll actually blow up the spot right here. And even though it's not the pot that we want to super slide off of, it'll still mess up the heap manipulation, and so it's no good. And if you place it too far back, the damage radius of the bomb simply won't get to the pot, and you'll just like roll into it, right, and want to grab it, but you won't actually get pushed back by the bomb damage. And so you line that up, boom. And then you're gonna drop your bomb for your super slide, right? You want to walk down right a little bit before you walk straight right. And you're kind of just gonna have to get used to this movement, because if you just walk forward, you'll see that Link doesn't even, he's not in line with the pot at all, right? And so you want him to be in line with the pot, obviously, but you want the bomb to be as close to the wall as possible. And so in order to do that, we drop it here, walk down right a little bit, and then switch to right. As far as visual cues for this distance, I look at the target pot, which is this guy here that's furthest away, not the close one. And specifically what I'm looking for is that white texture that you see right there. As long as I see that white texture pop up, I know that I'm good. This might even still work. Like, this might still work, but if I see the full texture right there, I know that I'm good. Always. But again, super slides are fairly lenient. You can be like as close as this to get it, but there is like a perfect distance, which is like about this. And the reason for that is because you also want to be able to see the bomb. So the bomb actually disappears earlier than you know, like you can go further out and still be able to get the super slide theoretically. It's just going to be much harder to time because you can't see the bomb. So I look at the pot for positioning, right? And I like make 1 or 2 adjustments tops, right? And then I start looking at the bomb. And that way I can look at the bomb at a point where I can, you know, still take a breath and then roll and make sure that my roll timing is correct. You just don't want to fall into the trap of making too many adjustments and then messing up your bomb timing because of it. And so you're going to drop the bomb, walk in, and then as you see it start to flash quickly like that, it's basically like a 2 count. You count like 1, 2, and then you mash A as quickly as possible, right? To super slide. And that's it. So now I'm super sliding, right? I let go of targets super early, as you noticed. It doesn't have to be incredibly early for this trick in particular. Like, basically, really any point before you untouch that wall in Observatory. But you do want to let it go fairly quick. And then you're going to keep holding shield, right? And once you go through the loading zone, you can let go of shield. And Link is going to pick up the invisible pot. So now you just backwalk out, right? And then backwalk back in. So that's all you got to do for the moment, right? To reload this room. And then now you're going to come to this wall right here. And you'll notice that I set a little value. There's a little value right below the sword there. That's Link's facing angle. That's where Link is currently facing. We want that value to be something very specific. It should say 1134. So naturally we have a setup for this. And so what you're going to do, you're going to come here and target this wall. And you're going to backwalk into the other wall. And here I'm looking at Link's hands. You'll see that as I'm walking they close. And if I stop walking or if I touch a surface they open, right? I basically just wait until Link's hands open like that, just to make sure that I'm completely touched up against the wall. Once he does that, I pause, and I'm gonna let go of everything, right? And I can start holding left here during the pause menu, right? And I'm just gonna unpause, and you're gonna hold left and buffer for 7 frames. And I'll show you what that looks like with KZ really quick, frame by frame, just so I can explain what's going on. You're gonna see that there's basically 4 frames where Link is turning, quote unquote, right? He's always turning, but I'm just gonna show it to you. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? He's kind of all turning at this point, and his right hand over here is not. It's not in the middle of the screen. It's on the right side of the screen. There's no texture in it. Once you start seeing this texture right here, which is his fingers, right? You're gonna see this frame, and you're gonna see that now Link starts to bob, very obviously bob, when he walks. And so the next frame he goes down, right? The frame he goes up, this frame right here is the frame you want. And so the second frame where he goes up, right? And you see that finger texture and his hand is more to the left side, that's when you know. So once you've reached this frame through pause buffering or otherwise, you can let go of left and your angle should be set. So you'll see that right now it says 1130 E, and that is not exactly the angle that we want, right? And so in order to get the angle that we want, we actually need to be walking forward. You're gonna be holding straight up, and if you hold straight up, you'll get the correct angle. And so it doesn't matter how close you are to the wall, it doesn't matter where your position is. All you got to make sure you're doing is you're targeted, you're holding up, and then as you're holding up, you shield drop it. Boom. And we just set the right value to that invisible pot. So you call it. No longer a pot. But anyways, Once you do that, you're good. And what you're going to do, you can keep that same angle. I'm just going to roll through here. I do the side hop twice here, and we're going to make our way to where the chest area is. So once we get to this area, we can just blow up this wall, right? And it's kind of important to note, if you're repeating this several times or if you're trying to practice in particular, if this wall is blown up, the current heap manip that we use will not work. You're going to need a different manipulation, which I believe already exists, but it's a much slower manipulation. And so, especially if you're practicing, you want to make sure that this wall is not blown up, right? Once you've blown that up, you're going to come here, target this wall to set your angle. And again, we're going to be looking for a very specific value here. And so the way we set that value is we see up, pause, right? And we're going to buffer holding right 2 frames. And so I just look for the texture of the wall to change, right? To move. That's 1. That's 2. Boom. 3880. That's the angle that you want, right? And once you've gotten this angle, you're going to get bomb time stop. So once again, if you don't know how to perform some of these tricks like bomb time stop, for example, please take a look at my beginner's tutorial. I have that spelled out in there. So pull out your bomb, back walksies, buffer to the frame you need, which is that one. When you no longer see the little white plume of smoke, and you also don't see the little orange guy. And that's shield and ocarina at the same time, right? And so now you're in time stop, and time stop is one of our saviors here because it allows us to open this chest without the chest actually opening, if that makes any sense. And so we can keep reopening it multiple times, right, and changing Link's collision angle in order to change the contents. So just another little quick thing I wanted to point out here. Like I said, I use the target wall and two frames of C upright, right, to set my original facing angle. But you can actually have a different facing angle here. And by doing that, you can, there are different ways that you can manipulate your collision angle later to get the same items. All I'm trying to say is that this setup might not stay the same. And the collision angle setups I'm going to show you now are for this particular facing angle setup before bomb time stop, right? So if you're doing, if you're looking at someone's PB and you're seeing something else, you're going to want to copy what they do, because otherwise you're not going to be getting the same items. Just to point this out, Kyle, Full Grown Gaming, already does a different facing angle setup here for his Hundo runs. Not every runner does it, but I'm just giving you an idea of what's possible. This is likely to change in the future. So right here, I've set a different watch on the top of my screen. And this watch, it's actually not Link's facing angle, it's Link's collision angle. And this is what matters when we talk about the item we're going to get from the chest. And so you see here, I'm just demonstrating for you. When I'm not touching any surface, that value never updates, right? When I'm touching surfaces, it continuously updates to determine the angle, right? And so what we're basically trying to do with each of the setups I'm going to show you, we're setting that value to something, right? Either by brushing up against the chest itself or brushing up against one of these walls, right? We want to set that value to something specific. Let's say it's this value. And then we want to exit, right, that area, right, without changing that value, and then opening the chest without changing that value. And so the way we do that, you can use a roll or a side hop will basically always work to be able to do that. And particularly if you're close to the wall like this, I just want to demonstrate. If you start walking away in certain directions, the value can change as you walk away. For example there, right? If I just collide, that's 4772. But if I walk away with upright, that value changes to something else. And that might not be what we want. And so to avoid that, you use a side hop, right? I'm just giving you an example. And so these setups are all designed around that. And then the very last, very important thing is if you've set an angle away from the chest, as you're walking towards the chest, you want to press A like around here, right? As you're getting close to it, because obviously if you then touch it, that value is going to change again, and you're going to mess up your whole setup. Another thing that's important is you can do these setups in any order you want, really. There's no limitations when it comes to that, except for one limitation. The very first setup you do cannot include C up. And the reason for that is because when we C up without opening the chest, we actually exit timestop, like that. And so obviously that's not beneficial to us. But once we open the chest once, C up no longer exits timestop. It enters first person view, like we would like it to. Once you've done that first one, you're free to do the rest of them in any order. So before I start on the actual setups, I'm going to talk really quickly about two very important backups that are really easy. One is about short cutscene animation, and so you'll notice that for a decent bit of these setups, it basically requires you to have that initial angle that the short animation gives you. And the easy way for you to achieve that, obviously you might just want something that has that before, right? But in case you fail it for any reason, you can simply reset that angle by pressing down, right? Down and colliding with the chest, and pressing A always gives you a blue rupee. And so that's an easy way to set this short cutscene here. Just to specify what I'm talking about, the short cutscene is when Link does what he did there. He kicks the chest open and just lifts the item over his head. The long animation is much more obviously longer. He like climbs into the chest. And so, yeah, you want the short animation. And then also, there are a decent number of setups where if you fail them by a frame or two, they can give you an item that will overwrite your ocarina slot. Obviously, ocarina is very important to us, and so the way we get that back, this is actually really easy. Targeting the chest, value 0, and opening it is ocarina. And so I'll just delete my ocarina, just so you can, just for as a proof of concept, I suppose. You'll notice right now, I don't have it, even though I have it equipped. And Link's gonna open it, and I'm gonna get it. Alright, this is for New Wave Bossa Nova. You're gonna shield turn left, and from here you're gonna S up just a couple pairs of frames here. This is what you're looking for, and what I personally look for here, you'll see that there's basically two gaps. Let me reset Link's position here. You see there's two gaps, right? There's a gap on his knee, a little triangle there, and then there's also a triangle at his foot, right? It's not this frame where there's a very, very tiny gap on his feet. You can barely see it. It's the one right after, this one right here. And then collide front of the chest, right? Make sure you're colliding there. And notice I kind of have to come to a complete stop there, just to make sure that that is set, that value's set, right? So I let Link kind of come to a complete stop. Dry roll. Walk holding right a little bit, and then walk holding down. By the way, with every single one of these setups, I'm going to be talking about the direction you're going to be pressing on the control stick. Your controls are inverted because of the way that we did time stop, right, while backwalking. And so, it's not about Link's positioning, it's about what I'm doing with my control stick, just so we're clear. Alright, this is for Song of Soaring. You're going to get the short cutscene animation, for example, by getting that blue rupee I talked about. Then you're going to C up, pause, and hold right one frame, just like that. I buffer one frame of holding right. That's it. That's the value that we want right there. Make sure you're colliding with the chest. Again, you don't gotta press down every single time. For example, this one, you don't even need to do it at all, because the short animation definitely places you within range of the chest. But if it's a setup that you might have moved around on, sometimes it's important just to, you know, make sure you get that little touch there. That's your guarantee that your collision angle is set. Roll, walk towards chest, open. Alright, for Sonata, you're going to shield turn up here. You're going to C up one frame right. Right? Once you've done that, you're going to start ESSing left. And what I look for here, if I don't mess it up, is there's these gaps between Link's knees, and it's basically a very fine line between his knees. I'll show you what that looks like right there. That's exactly what that looks like. And so it's not these frames right here, right, where there's a very clear triangle like this. It's the frame after where there's just like a tiny ass sliver like this, right? And there's also a little gap on the boot. And then same thing, roll away, walk towards it. Alright, so this next one is Sun Song. And what you're going to do here, you're going to shield turn right. And then there's kind of two different ways to go about this. And this is true for every setup that's going to use like lengthier ESSs. You can either start with up, ESS up, and then shift to ESS left to kind of get to the frame you want. Or you can kind of just do ESS up left, and that'll also work for you. And the reason why I'm saying this is, for example, if I'm ESSing at an opposite direction to where I turned, right? So for example, shield turning right, but I'm ESSing left, right? If I ESS down left, Link is going to turn one way. If I ESS up left, Link is going to turn another way. And so it's important to make that distinction first of all. And if you can't hold a consistent angle, you might want to do the up to left thing, because that almost guarantees that you'll be turning the right direction that you want to, right? So you're going to do that. You're going to keep turning. And what I look for here, it's pretty close to this frame right there. You see that little dot on his shield? I'm looking for that dot. And so the frame before, right, doesn't have it. As soon as that dot pops up, that's what I look for. And same thing, collide with chest, and open. Alright, so for oath to order, what I do is I walk down towards the chest, right? So I just tap down, and then I ESS up almost all the way, right? Once I'm almost all the way there with ESS up, I switch to ESS left, and I'm looking for this frame right here. The way I detect this frame, there's the two triangles, right? Between Link's leg and Link's boot, but there's also this texture. So right now, the top of Link's boots right now are not touching, right? Right now, they're almost touching. Like there's that little bit of darker brown in between. This is the exact frame I'm looking for. And so, again, roll away and open chest. This is Lullaby Intro. What you're going to do here is shield turn left and then ESS up left, right? Or up and left. And what you're going to be looking for here, I look at that area where between Link's sword and here, I'll redo it really quick. I'm looking at Link's sword and ear there on the right hand side, right? And basically I want to get to a point where I no longer see Link's ear and the yellow of the sword is barely visible. It's this frame right here. Something else you can use that I've looked at before, if you look at where Link's left arm meets with his shirt, right, his green shirt, that area of his green shirt is almost exactly parallel to the brown on the shield right there. And so those are kind of shit visual cues, but that's what I use. I haven't been able to figure out a good one for this. And again, roll, walk, pick up. So this is for Goron Mask. And this one's a little bit more interesting, and there are actually a few different setups that are like this. The angle that you're gonna get is such that it's kind of like a little bit turned to the chest, but not enough, right? And so you can open the chest from its left side, but you cannot open it from its right side, right? And so you have really two options here. You can either align yourself initially with the left side of the chest and then open it immediately, which I find easier, or you can line up anywhere, and then once you get the angle you want, right, whatever it is, you'll have to like slow walk your way over, kind of like this, to the left side and then open it, right? It's a little bit finicky because if you walk past the chest like this, right, this value that was set is different, right? So this is 46BA colliding with the front of the chest right here. If you walk past it, that value can change to something else, depending on how you do it, right? And so, for example, there it changed. And so I just find that standing on the side of the chest is more consistent. On the correct side of the chest that you want. Anyways, you're gonna stand here. You're gonna up, right? Shield turn up, and then ESS, start ESSing left, I'm sorry. And from there, use down. And what I'm looking for here is exactly this. It's not like, how do I describe it? It's not this, right, where there's like two very tiny holes. It's the frame after, where there's basically a united thing. And this will give us Goron Mask. This is Zora Mask, and this one requires you to open it from the right side of the chest. And so again, I line it up. And then from here, you're gonna tap down, C up, hold right for 1 frame, right? Pause buffer right for 1 frame. And then you're gonna start ESSing right. And this is another one of those that has a really finicky visual cue. And what I look for, so look over there where the sword is, that yellow block on the sword, right? You'll see that there's 2 dots. I'm looking at the right side dot, and right now it lines up with the very left side of Link's sword, right? The handle of his sword. I want the frame after this one that's very, very clearly different. Like the dots clearly change like distance, and now that right side dot is much closer to the right side of the sword. And so this will give you Zora Mask. So this is Fierce Deity. And for this one, again, you want to be lined up on a certain side. You want to be on the left side of the chest here. You're going to shield turn left, and you're going to C up and hold left and buffer in left for 1 frame, right? Once you've done that, it's only 2 ESS down. And if I can make that happen, it'll look like this. And again, the way you can tell, the boots, Link's boots, the top portion of the boots is still touching, right? The frame after, it's not touching. And that'll give you Fierce Deity Mask. So this next one is Blast Mask. And this is actually the first one that we collide with a wall for. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get close to the chest, right? Just by holding down, and then I'm going to target the chest. Once I'm targeted, I'm going to step away, right? This is important, to step away while targeted. And once I've done that, I'm going to do 1 ESS turn right. Just a single one, like that. And I'm going to collide with this right side wall right here. So once I've done that and Link's come to a stop, side hop right, and that value would be set, 4708. That's Blast Mask. Alright, so this is Bunny Hood. And you can open this one from the right side of the chest. You're going to shield turn right. You're going to C up. And this time you're going to buffer 2 frames holding left. So 1, 2. 2 frames C up holding left. Boom. Exit C up. And once you do that, you're going to ESS right a single frame. Like that. You're going to see that the gap on his legs disappear. And that's Bunny Hood. Finally, the last mask is Great Fairy Mask. And this one's stupid easy. All you're going to do, target the chest. Collide with the right side wall here. Side hop out. And that's Great Fairy Mask. So this next one is Big Quiver. You're going to shield turn right, and you're going to start ESSing up. And what I look for is right here, this frame. I'm looking at Link's right side hand. You'll see that the frame before, there's no brown underneath his thumb, right? There's like nothing there. It's just green. Now there's like a bunch of brown. That's the easiest way to tell. And this one you're going to roll away. Make sure you don't touch that wall, which I did. And that'll give you Big Quiver. So this next one is Biggest Quiver. What you're going to do, shield turn left and ESS up 2 frames. I don't really have a visual cue for this one. Just kind of look at Link's boots and I can kind of tell how far apart they are. It's only two S frames. And once you do that, you roll, open chest. This next one right here is Hookshot. Shield turn left. And then what I look for here is kind of specific. So you'll see that this frame right here both of Link's hands are on the side of his shield, right? And they're pretty much the same size, right? Like the same number of fingers almost is showing, right? As he sways. The very next frame is what you want as you're ESSing down. ESS down or right works here. This is the frame that you want. The right hand side hand almost disappears, right? You can only see like the bottom of his fingernails. And so I kind of keep an eye on both of those, and that gives you Hookshot. So this next one is Stick. Here you're going to shield turn left, and you're going to ESS again down and right. And what you're going to be looking for, notice this frame, this is Hookshot frame. There's a very slight bit of gray texture on the right side of the shield, right? That pretty looking texture right there. You go one more frame and that little bit of that line of gray disappears almost, right? There's like nothing there and the blue is much closer to the edge. And that's what I look for. This next one is Light Arrows. You're gonna tap down, C up, do one frame holding right, exit C up, and one ESS frame right. And that'll give you 42A. That's Light Arrows. So this next one is Fire Arrows. You're gonna shield turn left, C up, buffer in one frame of holding left, and then you can ESS down here a little bit if you want, just to make it a little easier for you, but I just straight up ESS right, like I do for Hookshot, and I'm looking for this frame right here. What I look for there is, notice right now how Link's sword, between the sword and the hat, there's still plenty of hair, right? Like there, even when there's no hair, as he's bobbing, there's still like a gap there, right? It's not fully touching. The next frame, they're basically fully touching, and you can see that as he bobbles, Link's ear goes past the sword. That's how you know you got the right angle, and that's Fire Arrows. Alright, this is Lens of Truth. Really easy setup. You're going to target your chest, right? Not facing down, targeting. You can let go of target, and then ESS right 1 and 2 frames. That's Lens. Choose is another really easy one. Similar to Lens, you're going to target the chest and ESS right a single frame, and that'll give you 10 Choose. Alright, so we're going to move on to bottled items here for a bit. This one is Seahorse. For this one, you're going to shield turn up, and I ESS right a couple of frames just to make sure that my S down goes in the right direction, right? So I S right a couple frames, then start using S down until this is a very obvious frame. There's just a little bit of red on Link's shield right there. It's the very first frame that that red texture pops up. And I collided with the chest weird there, so I just recollided, but normally you wouldn't need to do that. Once you have the value, open the chest. This one here is Bugs. You're gonna just tap the chest with down and ESS right until the gray texture on the shield there that's touching Link's arm at the moment is gonna separate from it right there, and you're gonna see that gap of green. That's when you know you had the right frame, right? So like this frame doesn't have the gap of green yet, while this one, whoa, I went a bunch there, but you get what I'm saying. This one will give you Bugs. This next one here is Gold Dust. Again, you're gonna tap the chest by pressing down, and then you're gonna ESS right. This is another one of those super obvious frames. It's the very first frame that you see that blue, the blue sheath of Link's sword. That's Gold Dust. So this next one is Chateau. For this one, you're gonna shield turn up, like that. And again, I ESS left just a couple of frames to make sure my ESS down is going in the right direction. And then from there, I'll ESS down quite a few frames. What I'm looking for here, see that green texture on the side of Link's arm? I'm looking for that to disappear. So right here, it's like a tiny ass triangle. The next frame, it's gonna completely disappear, like this. This is Chateau. Alright, so this next one is Keg. What you're gonna do is shield turn left, and then this is kind of complicated because you're ESSing like basically all the way around pretty much, And so you can start with ESS down, then switch to ESS right, making sure that you're not setting your position fully, right? You're not going fully into that where the ESS position is, right? So take it in stages, and from there, you're looking for this frame right here. And what I personally look for, notice, so this frame, Link has like nothing on his chest, right? It's all green and the satchel. The frame before, it's like there's this tiny sliver, the tiniest sliver of skin right in there, right? You want the frame after. You want this frame where there's a very clear triangle of skin. Anyways, triangle of skin. I never thought I'd say that. You're gonna collide with this wall right here, right? So you're gonna walk right, collide with the left side wall, and then we can't roll out of this, so we backflip like this. And you just backflip by tapping left and open the chest, and that's Keg. This one right here is Delivery to Mama, Special Delivery to Mama, and you need the short cutscene starting angle. So I'm just gonna grab my blue rupee here. Once you have that short cutscene angle, you're gonna ESS right for a couple frames, and then I start ESSing down. You're looking at a shield, and you're gonna want that full line of blue behind the shield, not this little tiny sliver. It's this full line of blue. That's Delivery to Mama. This next one is Swamp Title Deed. You're gonna touch down on the chest, right? And you're gonna ESS left a couple frames, like 4 or 5. It's this frame right here. Really obvious because it's the first frame that brown belt shows up, right? This is covered, this is uncovered. Alright, I'm gonna get into the swords now, and these are actually kind of cool, swords and shields, because they're one of the few items that visually update, so you're guaranteed to know whether you've got it. This one's gonna be Razor Sword, really easy. You're gonna target the chest, ESS right 2 frames. You can check that by checking that little brown texture showing up like that. And once you've done that, collide with this right side wall, right? Come to a stop, side hop using right, and open the chest. And you'll be able to see here that Razor Sword will actually visually update, which is pretty cool. Like that. This next one is Gilded Sword, and so for this one you're gonna shield turn up, and you're gonna ESS left basically all the way, not quite, but almost there. It's this frame right here, and the way I can tell is the frame before, the top of Link's back boot, right, his left foot, it's still showing up that lighter brown texture. The next frame it won't, right? It barely shows anything of that boot texture, and so that's how you know. And this is another one of those you have to roll on. So because the angle is kind of shitty, I try to go more to the right side of the chest here, and then I roll from there. And same as always, walk and open, and again you'll see that the sword will visually update. Like this. That one's much more obvious. So here I've reset back to the Hylian sword and the shield, the regular Hylian shield as well, just so I can talk more about the visual cues. If you do have Mirror Shield in your setup, I'd particularly encourage you to leave Mirror Shield last, just so you can keep a consistent visual cue with the Hylian shield, because that's what I use for most of these setups anyways. So this next one is Big Bomb Bag, and this is one of the harder ones to do quickly. You're going to shield turn left, not that crazy, kind of like this, and then you'll ESS down for a little bit, right? So I'm going to work in sectors here. I'm going to just kind of get Link to basically loop all the way around without ever resetting his position. And so I'll ESS down for a couple frames, then I'll ESS right most of the way, like that. Then I'll start ESSing up, right? And I'll get to this frame. This is the frame that we want right here with ESS up. And you can also use ESS right and left to switch between them if you want. It's So it's the frame where the shield isn't popping out of Link's left arm at all. Notice that this frame has a little bit of a texture on his skin, right on the left-hand side of the gray shield. This one doesn't have any of that. So you want this frame, you're gonna target and collide with this right side wall right here. Come to a stop. And here you can either backflip or roll, or side hop or roll, it doesn't really matter. I like to roll, but it's a little bit slower. And that'll be Big Bomb Bag. This next one is Biggest Bomb Bag, 40 Bomb Bag. This requires the short cutscene, so again I'm gonna grab my friend the Rupee here. Once you've done that, you're gonna ESS right 3 frames. And you'll notice that that's the case because the shield on the left-hand side will basically disappear like that. It's actually a frame before, like this. So this is the frame that you want. You're gonna roll and grab, and that is Biggest Bomb Bag. So this next one is Adult Wallet, and this is another one of those more complicated ones. What you're gonna do is target the chest. And once you have that targeted, you're gonna ESS right as such, then switch to up, and then switch to left. And the frame that I'm looking for here is the frame that there's, so notice this is the frame after. There's a very small hole between Link's boots. I'm looking for this frame where there's basically 2 triangles, right? One triangle at his knees, one triangle at his boots. This one, notice the boots don't connect at all, right? So you want the boots connected for sure, and those 2 triangles. Once you see that, you're gonna come over here, collide with this left side wall, roll away, and grab it. This next one is Giant's Wallet. It's pretty similar, except you're gonna shield turn up, so it makes it quite a bit easier. So shield turn up, and from there, you're gonna ESS left until you see those 2 triangles that we talked about and the boots are touching. So, you know, not this frame. It's gonna be this frame. And you'll touch this left side wall again, roll away, grab the contents. This next one is our last one, and it's Boss Key, and it's a little bit of an interesting case. Because if you pick it up without entering any dungeons, it's going to be Woodfall Boss Key. It's just going to default to Woodfall. But if you enter any other dungeon, it'll actually give you the boss key for that dungeon. And it'll also give you boss keys for boss rooms. So dungeons and boss rooms basically set a different value that'll change what this boss key actually is. In most runs, because we do SRM so early, when we do collect the boss key, it's for Woodfall. So you don't have to worry about that too much. And what you're going to do, you're going to shield turn right, C up left for 1 frame, right? So hold left, 1 frame. And then we're going to ESS left, and it's going to be this frame right here. It's the very first frame that the gray pops out on the left side of Link's arm. This one has no gray. This one has just that thin line of gray. This is the frame that you want. And again, we're gonna touch the chest, roll, open it. So now I'm gonna talk about Deku Palace SRM, or the SRM that allows us to do wrong warps, right? First thing you want to do here is break in. And you can actually, you could literally equip Deku Mask and talk to these guys if you wanted to. It doesn't mess with the manip, but there's like much faster ways to get in here. There's like a bajillion different ways. The one I tend to do is I pull out a bomb here and I do a recoil flip while aiming kind of in the middle of them, right? And that always allows you to break in. You can actually do a hover here as well, just to demonstrate. Literally hover and backflip past them like that. You can get a super slide as well. That'll get you past them as well, like that. There's also an explosive list method, and this is also just really easy. All you gotta do, I roll off this little part of the part of the bridge there, so I can get in this area here. And then all you do is you side hop, mash B, and then hold down and mash A. And what that's gonna do is Link is gonna jump slash up into the fence, right? Like this, and then by mashing backflip, he just backflips past them like that. Once he's on top of the fence. You gotta mash for both, they gotta be pretty quick, but it's pretty reliable. Anyways, whichever way you decide to go in, once you do, you're gonna get ISG. I usually just get ISG off this sign right here, but you can use the other signs. Doesn't really matter how many you break, because once you start doing the shenanigans, the signs are gonna reload regardless. So here, what we're gonna do, I hold target and we're gonna load this room 6 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom. And essentially that's duplicating an actor that's in there, and that's our heap manipulation for it. Just make sure that the room loads and unloads every time you do it. If you mess this up at any point, by the way, there's 2 ways you can go about it. If you mess it up in here, you can just get caught by one of these guards, or if you're out there, you can enter King Deku's room, and that's also going to get you thrown out if you're human. Either way, it's fine, it works. You don't need to, re-enter the original entrance over there that you were in. You can just get caught, and that's fine. So once we've done our manipulation here, right, we've gone in and out of the room 6 times, we're going to go in a 7th time, except this time you're also going to pull out a bomb before you go in. It's very important that you pull this bomb before the room loads, otherwise the manipulation is not going to work, right? And so, pull the bomb, go in, and we're going to hover up this this thing right here, this block of wood or whatever. So the way I do this hover, just to make it simpler, I turn around the corner and I hold down, right? And I target the side of the door frame here. And that basically guarantees that no matter like where the camera really is, I can just backflip by tapping up. The camera here can be kind of janky, so that's kind of why I target that door frame. That just kind of makes sure that my angle is good, right? So anyways, hover up here. You can get rid of ISG there, or once you're in the door frame here, it doesn't matter. And I use down right. I hold down right to backflip onto this door frame here. Once you've done that, you kind of want to be positioned anywhere on the left side of this door frame. It's not super precise, really. Like anywhere here to here works. And you're gonna pull a bomb, do a recoil flip. And this recoil flip is gonna clip you up here, which is where you want to be. Now, we're going to be super sliding off of this back pot right here, which is our target actor. But before you do, it's very, very important that you break this pot and grab the magic in it. I almost didn't grab it there. You don't necessarily have to grab the magic. You can actually just let the magic unload, right? So if you wait like 10 seconds or 15 seconds or something, the magic is going to go away regardless. The point is, it can't be there. That magic needs to not exist in order for the trick to work as well. So now, we're actually going to perform a setup so that we're in the correct spot to drop the bomb, so that we don't break the pot, but we can super slide, right? Similar to Observatory. I'm going to show 2 different setups here. The one I like to use, so this is a full backflip, and essentially what you're doing is you're backflipping and you keep holding down and then you hold shield. And what that's essentially achieving is, during Link's backflip, he's going as far back as possible, right? Because you're still holding down, as opposed to doing kind of a dry backflip like that, right? Where you stop holding down. But by holding shield and letting go of target, you also guarantee that he's not going to move from his spot, right? If you kept holding target, he would just start backwalking. So, again, backflip, let go of target, hold shield. You can actually hold shield the entire time. Anyways, now hold right, stab once, like that. You're going to be in this position, side hop left. Now here, you can either shield turn up right, up left, and that works for most people, but sometimes it can not work. If you have a bad diagonal, it can be shitty, and so you can also line this up manually and with C up, and basically what you're going to be looking for, so there's this dot right here and there's this dot. you want the line before the second dot, which is this line. I found that anything to the right of it in this dark texture, right? So like anything from like here to here works fine. Anyways, once you have that angle set, what you're gonna do, shield drop a bomb here, and you're gonna walk down right? So you're like over here, walk down right. And it's just for like a half second or something. Letting go of down right here in the right, at the right time is very important, because if not, you're just not going to be lined up with the pot correctly. And what I do is I look at the pot itself, and I want to have basically half of it showing. If I see that brown door frame, that's bad. I think that like seeing just a little can still work, but I don't trust it. I like seeing like just half of the pot like that. If you see like barely any of it, it might also not work. So kind of like a big chunk of pot, but no brown door frame. Now, very important thing before I continue. This guy here is our enemy, this scrub. And I don't mean that in the literal sense. If this nut that he's shooting is loaded as we cross that loading plane, it'll also cause our manipulation to not work. And so we need to make sure that the timing that we do it on, that the timing that we drop the bomb on is specific, so that the super slide happens in a particular time, and that guarantees that the nut's not loaded. Two things I personally look for once I'm done with this. You can either listen for his, you know, shooting nut sound, the that sound. You can either listen for that and drop the bomb right as that happens, or you can drop the bomb right as the nut explodes on your left side here. So either of those cues will work, just to make sure that the nut isn't loaded. So once I drop my bomb here, I start getting into position, and I'm looking for a very specific blue flash, which is that flash right there. You'll notice that the bomb flashed red 3 times. It's the blue flash right after, which is also the flash right before the bomb starts flashing quickly, right? Alternating really fast between red and blue. I use that to time my side hop. And so that essentially guarantees that I still have like a little bit of a lag between the side hop and the roll. And I'll show you what I mean. Drop bomb, right? Get in position, side hop there, and I roll like just slightly later, right? I let just like a beat pass. If I don't let that beat pass, I'm gonna be early on my super slide. But otherwise it makes it perfect. And I just like having that little bit of, you know, a little bit of leeway, I suppose. If you dislike that and you just want to mash A right after you side hop, you can just wait until the next red flash of the bomb, and I'll show you what that looks like as well, right? If I do the same thing, wait for that red flash and just mash, and that'll give you the super slide as well. So however you choose to time it, you know, you can do it both ways. So here's the main part that's kind of tricky about this. Right after you grab the pot, when you're super sliding, you need to let go of target basically immediately after you grab the pot. And then you have to stop your super slide pretty soon after, otherwise you're going to drop down the ledge. So you're essentially, after you're mashing A for your super slide, you need to let go of target almost immediately, then let go of shield a beat later. Let me show you what that looks like unbuffered really quick. Like that. Well, I was actually a frame early there on my shield, that's why I grabbed the literal pot. Otherwise you would see an invisible pot over my head. But I think you get a general idea. I'll also show you right now how to buffer that, how to pause buffer it if you're having issues. So to pause buffer this, you're gonna want to basically pause immediately after you mash A, right? Not during Link's roll, because he probably hasn't grabbed the pot yet, but like later when he's starting to stand up and when he's almost completely standing up. Basically you just need to grab the pot before you let go of target, right? So you do this, and like, I'm gonna wait a little bit, so somewhere around here, you can let go of target, right? After the bomb explodes is always a good bet. Let go of target, and now you're holding just shield. And you're gonna wait quite a few frames. It's not immediate, so you can like let a bunch of frames pass. But I'm gonna pause buffer them one at a time here just to demonstrate you the visual cue. So right now you still see that green line on the left side, right? Still see it. Right after that disappears, right, where the tunnel is basically the leftmost thing, that's the first frame that you can let go of shield. So letting go of shield here would be completely fine. And you also have like 2 frames after, 2 or 3, something like that. You have a good leeway there. But this frame right here will work. Ta-da! And you'll know obviously if it worked or not. If you have an invisible pot over your head, it means that it worked. If the pot is still visible, that means that that room didn't completely unload. So now I'm going to show you a second setup, and this one is particularly beneficial for people who have trouble with that little downright walk. Because it's kind of like an intuitive thing, right? It's not like there's a setup for walking, so this gets rid of that for the sake of consistency. So what you're going to do here, you're going to do that same full-length backflip, except that here, instead of crouch stabbing the wall, you're just going to do a regular stab. So just press B, right? Then you're going to side hop, she'll turn upright, right? And here you can either do like a dry backflip like that, letting go of down, or you can just back walk. And what I personally look for, I want to see, so right here, right, on the original position, you have that white line that extends all the way. I want to see the thing underneath it, which is that little brown texture right there. Anyways, once you've kind of reached that spot, you're gonna shield drop your bomb, and you're gonna do a tap side hop right, a tap side hop left. It's important that they're tapped side hops. Tapped side hops are different from hold side hops in this game, right? By like holding the position, because they actually put you slightly forward, and that's important here. So anyways, you're gonna shield drop the bomb, side hop, and then here, same visual cue, I'll side hop right again, right? So that same visual cue, the blue frame that I was talking about. And then here, same thing, right? Let go of target right after you roll, and let go of shield as you're in the tunnel. So the rest of it is the same. So I said I was going to show you 2 setups, but I actually lied. I've recently begun using a third one that saves a significant amount of time. The main benefit about it is that it actually breaks this pot. On top of the bomb blowing up this pot, you'll also pick up the magic that's in it automatically when you do the Superslide, and so you don't even have to worry about that part either. I've yet to have a situation where I've done the setup correctly and I haven't picked up the magic, so... You know, I'm not going to say it's 100% confidence, but like 95% confidence you will. Because just to explain this a little bit, this magic has like an RNG that it goes in like whichever diagonal depending on the RNG, but that doesn't seem to affect whether you pick it up or not. And so you can just do the super slide, and as long as you have a good position, you'll be fine. I would recommend this setup if you're decent at MM already, but if you're not, if you're a beginner, you probably want to look at the other 2 first. So first thing, make sure that you get a straight angle right here for this recoil flip. Whichever way you like to do that, either like shield turn or ESS turn or just tap it, you know, like make sure that your angle is 90 degrees from the wall. And then from there, and shield turn down right, and you're gonna walk over here. It's a very specific position. So what I do is I look at this pink pedal that's closest to my foot right here, and I try to line it up in such a way that I'm right on its edge. And so the way it works out is like vertically, you have like a little bit of leeway going forward, but not a lot of leeway going backwards, so you want to be like slightly past it like this, right? And you can tell whether you're past it or not because you get that little foot glitch when you're like right on top of it, and that's good. Like this will work. And then some of these will also work. It's kind of like a radius shape, so like if you're a little bit further left, further up might work. If you're a little further down, a little bit further right might work. And you just kind of play with those distances and figure out what works best for you. Like I said, I usually look for this little leg glitch or look to be in a position where I'm pretty close to it. Another good cue horizontally is that little dot that's above Link's head. You want to be pretty much straight up lined with that dot and then just adjust your vertical from there. After you get this position down, you're going to drop your bomb, and then pretty much the same as the other, the first strat, you're just going to YOLO a down right walk. And this can actually be a little further right than down right. I'm going to explain this visual cue really quick. So the grab radius of this pot is really stupid. Like, you have to be pretty damn right in front of it to be able to grab it, and so you can exploit that to our advantage. And so I'm just jamming like the control stick slightly above of down right, and then I'm looking for basically this position right here. That I've been developing my muscle memory by practicing this. Anyways, I don't want to be in front of the halfway line of the pot right there when the camera changes, because that's going to push me forward when I side hop instead of backwards, and that's going to be way too close to the other pot. And I also want to have a little bit of a gap between Link and the pot. Like right around where that gap disappears is also when you see grab on the A button, and so you want to be anywhere where it doesn't say grab. So in order to optimize our time save with this strat, the best way to go about it is actually to pull the bomb as soon as you shield turn down right. And if you get used to the up left enough, like the up left flower positioning, then you can do it pretty reliably. That's honestly the hardest part to do fast. So the whole objective is to just finish the trick and get out of the room before the Deku even has time to shoot a nut. And I'll show you what I mean right here. When you get on this platform the way we did, he actually takes like a cycle just looking around, and because of that hot 5-10 seconds or whatever that we have there, we can just do the whole trick without having to worry about his nut cycle at all. So once you've done all that, you're gonna have an invisible pot in your hands. And you'll know whether you got this correct or not, because when you go into this room, if you got it incorrect, it's most likely gonna crash. If you got it correctly, it won't crash, right? And from here, again, we're gonna manipulate this pot's X position, right? And so we're gonna do setups to put it in a very specific spot. I'll show you those setups later. What I want to talk about right here is getting past these guys, right? There's a bunch of guards that want to catch you, but the guard that we want us to catch us is all the way in the back over there. So it's this Deku guard right here, this fellow all the way in the back. And so the easiest way for us to get there, and the way you want to do it as long as you have the explosives necessary, you're basically gonna hover up this thing and get to that platform over there, so that you can roll on the seam. And the way most people do this, you come to this brown patch right here. See this very corner of this brown patch right here where I'm standing. Tap down to get a straight angle, and then just get ISG and hover, preferably off of the same bomb. And you can just mash your hovers here, and you can get up there and then up here. Now I crouch there to cancel ISG, as you saw. And then you can wait for the platform to go over, it's probably slower, or just straight up roll onto this texture here. And then, yeah, just come down here. I didn't pay attention there and the guard caught me, but anyways, you're supposed to pay attention to that guy just to make sure that he's not looking your way when you fall down, and make your way to the other guard. Now there's a backup you can do if you fall down or otherwise, and I'll demonstrate this really quickly. You can just backflip on top of this door frame since it's so tiny, like this. You just have to have the right distance from it, which is kind of like where the camera starts to change, right? Because if I go in, the camera tilts one way. If I go out, the camera tilts another way. It's like right here, right? So you backflip on top of this door frame, and you got to be a little bit careful. I usually come a bit to the left here, because that Deku guard right there can actually catch you while you're on top of the door frame, or while you're trying to get on top of the door frame. It's usually not even when he's staring straight like this, is when he turns around like this. It's really annoying. Let's say that you accidentally fall down here, right? You backflip too far away. You can... Bro, he caught me looking the other way. Are you joking? Anyways, from here, what I do is I step away from the wall just a little bit, and I shield turn up left. Had to look there for a second. Shield turn up left, and you'll get this angle here, right? So once you target, walk forward and roll, and he'll just make his way up. Alternatively, what you can do, if this platform's on a good cycle, you can actually shield turn down left, and staring at the platform like this, you can just roll and jump slash on top. Finally, if you want to be a scrub, you can also just go around these guys normally. And I'll just show you, because some people don't know this because it doesn't look like it, but there's a gap right here that you can walk through. And it's pretty important if you want to get past these guys. This is also important if you don't have any bombs, because you'll basically be forced to do this until you get to the door frame over there. And yeah, last thing, this guy never comes over this way. Don't know why, he just cycles back and forth over there. He never comes this way, so you're mainly just trying to get to that spot that I did and just come across when he's not looking, like this. And then either, you know, use the door frame from there, or you can literally just slow walk all the way around, like dodge this guard that's over here too. There he is, he was hiding behind the platform. Dodge this guy too, right, and just go all the way like a scrub to the one that you want. So last little detail I wanted to point out is that this Deku guard can actually just freeze in place and stay stuck when you do SRM, and that's just one of the side effects of, you know, messing with a bunch of data that's related to it. One of the things that we mess up is whether he stays stuck or not, basically. So you'll notice sometimes that he stops, and that sometimes he decides to round the corner immediately. When he stops, he gets frozen. When he doesn't stop, it's fine, and so that's why your mileage may vary when it comes to that. And yeah, let's just say that it happens. It doesn't really matter. As long as you get right up in its grill, he's gonna catch you anyways. So now I'm gonna show you the setups that we currently have to run warp to places. These are only the ones that we use in runs at the moment. I'm sure there's a bunch more that we might not have setups for, but anyways. First one is traditional Moonwarp. Going into Goht's trial. So this one, pretty easy. Most of them are pretty easy, for being honest. Anyways, we're gonna target this door frame right here, right? And I like to just stick around it because the camera is better around here. And I do 1 ESS left. Once you've done that, lock your angle, and you're gonna walk up into this corner here. And you want to throw the pot, right? You're gonna press A, but you want to do it as Link is doing this weird sidewalk, right? And the way you achieve that, holding up does a different type of sidewalk, right? Holding up left, he does that, but then he stops. I don't really know why he stops, but essentially what you want to do is, as you're getting into this corner, you want to make sure you're holding up left, right? And once you're sure, you want to throw it pretty quickly, right? As he's shuffling. So once you do all that, right? Make your way over to our guard, and just as a proof of concept, I'll show you that it takes you to Gohtwarp. Here we are. This next one is for warping to Bunnyhood, which also, if you do on the night of the second day and then play Sun Song, it'll also take you to the moon. You can check out that in Hundo. They exemplify that in Hundo. But this is pretty easy as well. I set it up outside the room. I target this green texture right here. And I don't know if that targeted or not. Anyways, once you're sure that it's targeted, you're just gonna do 3 ESS frames right. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da. Now you can go in, if I can aim, if I'm good at the video game. There you go. And just go in, right? You keep holding target this whole time. Hold up right and throw the pot up there. And that'll take you to Bunnyhood. Just like that. It actually takes you into the cutscene of getting Bunnyhood, which is doubly useful for us. This next one is for Gohtwarp, and this is the simplest of all of them. All you're gonna do is target the left side of this door frame here and throw the pot. That's all you gotta do. Target, throw. Boom. That's Goht's room. There you go. Finally, this last one takes you to the sewers exit of Pirate's Fortress. And it's very similar to the first Moonwarp, except instead of targeting the door frame, you target the wall. And that's what makes the difference, basically. So target the wall, ESS left 1 frame. If I can stop sucking, I'd show you. that was 2 frames. That's 1 frame, right? So you can correct that if you need to. Anyways, and same thing, you're gonna get in this corner, hold up left, make sure that Link is doing that weird sidewalk, right? Boom. Something I didn't mention earlier, when this guard is frozen like this, you gotta get right up in his grill for him to catch you. Just so you know. And that's Pirate's Fortress. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for watching this video. If you're curious about MM speedruns in general or want to learn more about SRM, again, you can check out the videos I linked in the description, or, you know, just hit up my channel. I tend to stream. I'm streaming more often nowadays than I used to, let's put it that way. And so, yep, thank you for stopping by.